I am 3 weeks away from having zero in our bank account, like zero.
That's stressful.
Then all of a sudden what happens, I have 3 weeks and I make 11 grand in my first week and I make $42,000 in the first 3 weeks. We perceive sales as like selling something to somebody that they don't want or need. When you genuinely align and believe in something, you are doing this for that person because you fully believe that this is the best thing for them and you're helping them to realize that for themselves. And I have had people in tears on calls, like where they've made the decision for themselves, shaking and nervous because they've never invested in themselves, but also so grateful for the fact that somebody helped them make that decision for themselves. I came from a corporate background and you're bred to believe that money's really hard to come by because you spend 10, 12, how many hours every day grinding on a commute and in an office, a capped amount of earnings. And so we believe that money is this really hard thing to get, and then 2025 has completely proved to me that that's actually not the case at all.
Michael Reid, welcome to the Remote Sales Podcast.
Kris, great to be here, mate. Good to have a chat with you. I know we've been trying to do this for a little while, so very excited.
Exactly, and I would say good morning to you, but for you, it's basically your afternoon. Even though you're in Sydney, it's basically your afternoon.
What is it, 10 o'clock? Yeah, so my day started at, I think the alarm went off at 3:30 this morning, which is actually sleeping, to be honest. So yeah, it was another early start. Yeah, the days are getting earlier and earlier, but I'm loving the freedom of the afternoons.
So you are, well, not long ago, you were a pro rugby player. You became a real estate agent. Now you're a 40K plus per month remote closer working from home. Take me back to the start. How did you go from pro athlete getting into real estate, or even talk us through your career as a pro athlete? I want to hear more about that.
So, look, I'm a New Zealander from origin. So being a Kiwi kid, and all there is you want to be an All Black, right? And I was no different. That was my dream. And I was lucky enough to play for the Junior All Blacks for a couple of seasons, go to a couple of Junior World Cup, wear the black jersey, do the haka, live out a childhood dream at that level, right? And the goal was always the ultimate, to be an All Black. And I think I was 21 and I got an foot injury. And then over the next 4 or 5 years, I had 4 different surgeries on this injury on my foot. And from that very first day, it was probably always kind of the writing on the wall, right? And that's ripe old age of 23, 24 when I had to give it away. And the great thing about what sport teaches you, especially at a high performance, is you've got this innate competitiveness about you, right? And the desire to always push boundaries and really challenge yourself. And so I needed to find another competitive environment, right? Because that was where I got my kick from. And so I went overseas, traveled around Europe, Middle East, spent some time in Africa, and then eventually found myself in a corporate sales role. So I was doing corporate sales for 10 years or so. And I guess I always had this perspective that I just grind my way to the top and I'll get there eventually. If it takes 10 years, if it takes 20 years or whatever, that was just kind of ingrained in me from what I believed of the way to become successful in a career. And I guess about a year and a half ago now, I was I think this path to CEO status is maybe going to take a little longer than I expect, or maybe not happen at all. So I was I'm going to give real estate a crack. We'd moved recently, we'd sort of settled into an area where we saw ourselves safe. I was now's the time I'll go and give it a crack and go all in on real estate. And being a dad with 2 kids, and that meant no Saturdays anymore, and it meant basically no income as well. And at that point I was actually, I love real estate, but I also love being able to spend time with my family and enjoy them. And that was when I got the clarity around, hey, what do I actually want life to look like? And that freedom and that control and the ability to control that for myself and have the ability to earn as much as I think I want to earn, or unlimit myself. I guess the algorithms start leading me towards high ticket sales and what high ticket sales is. And I'm I've been in sales for 10 years. How the heck have I not found out about this before now? And that's when I came across obviously you guys as well, and the rest is history. That's where the path into high ticket sales came from.
You became one of our most committed students, and one of the biggest hustlers to find a role. You were relentless in your pursuit of getting a role, and also juggling family as well, 2 kids. I know that wasn't easy as well, the training process to transition.
Yeah, and you know what? So when I came into RSI, I was still working as a real estate agent. I was an associate. I'm talking $2,500 a month, literally, massive mortgage in Sydney, and once I got clear that like that lifestyle didn't really align with where I wanted my dream life to come from, I actually called it. I left. So when you talk about like hustling, like I had no option. Like I have no salary, like no income, living in Sydney, and I got no option but to just hustle and like find a way at that point. So yeah, I think in the space of like 2 or 3 weeks, I'd had like multiple interviews, tried a couple of other offers out first that didn't end up working out for other reasons, but my back was against the wall. I had no other option but to hustle.
So you're a sales associate. I thought, yeah. So you're a sales associate. You're earning 2.5K a month. You're juggling 2 kids. You figured that real estate was going to be it for you, as a lot of people do. A lot of people think they see real estate agents driving Mercedes, wearing fancy suits, and they think this is the ticket, this is the pathway. But we work with a lot of people who find out very quickly that it's actually not what it's made out to be. What do you think were some of the key challenges in that career for you that just you couldn't see that future for yourself?
So I'll say like nothing surprised me. Like I went into real estate like fully aware of what I was getting into. Like I spent some time with another agent in another area who I know really well, like got a bit of a boots on the ground reality of it. So I went in with no false pretenses, right? I knew it was going to be hard. I knew it was going to take some time. The thing I didn't know is I didn't know how long it was going to take. And I realized getting into it with a wife and 2 kids and all the obligations that come with that and the amount of time I could put towards it, it was probably a 3-year runway, right? To be earning a level of reasonable, like not probably driving a Mercedes and all these sorts of things, but just to at least be like at a reasonable level of earning. And I guess when I got to the awareness of like that was the time period, I came to the realization like, look, I don't really have that time. And so that was when I sort of like got the clarity of, I was already an RSI by this point, but I got to the clarity of like, okay, well, I'm just going to call it now and I'm just going to go all in here and like find a way to make this work. I don't regret making that decision to make that, because I wouldn't be here now where I am if I hadn't been brave enough to walk away from a very corporate, well-paid, cushy sales gig and to go into that. I could have just stayed in the comfort of that, right? So that decision to go into real estate has led me to where I am now. But you're right, like real estate's tough, right? Real estate is door knocking, cold calling, every day, all day, basically, when you're starting out. And you build resilience from that if you can be resilient enough to stick at it. And I have the utmost respect for anyone who does it now. Like real estate agents get a brand them with a brush, but like it takes a lot to be successful in that career. And so I got a whole newfound respect for the people who go in there and crack it.
Couldn't agree more. The work ethic that it takes to succeed in real estate is something that people just do not understand. And I think they, like you say, they paint them with a brush and that they don't do any work. But to get to where some of the top agents are, it took years and years and years of graft, hard grind. Yeah. We see it in this industry. We see often the most successful people are the guys who have come from a background in real estate or another industry where you've never been given anything on a silver platter. Because in high ticket sales, you're getting inbound leads. It can be a cushy role. It's a very attractive role because a lot of things are actually handed to you. But if you can combine that with then being a workhorse, being proactive, the success is amplified 10x.
And I think that was a big thing for me, right? Like even in my corporate sales, I was like, I never knew such thing as an inbound lead. It was always through your own outreach, even at that stage. So now coming in here, like, and I see it all the time, like there's people who like get a lead on your calendar, that's gold, right? Like whether they're qualified or not, you have the opportunity to move that person from one perspective to another. But having an awareness of just how hard it is to get somebody to that level of even wanting to be able to call with you in the first place, right? And treating like that, like the gold that it is, I think that for people who don't have the sales background, like that's something they should be conscious of here.
And they don't realize the time and the effort and the work and the money that's gone into getting that person on the calendar because it's so easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy in high ticket. How long was the transition sort of joining RSI? You jumped in, you committed, you went to all the sessions. And I know your first role you landed was not where you are now. So how long was the transition to sort of landing your first role?
So because I was hustling like to really push for something because I had literally like no income now, like I was pretty open to kind of taking on multiple or all sorts of things. So I reckon within the first month of being with RSI, I was probably on like 1 or 2 offers already within that period. And they were learning experiences. They were like, I had an awareness of like where I felt like what aligned with me and what didn't. One was more of an outbound role. It was a clothing role, but it was like an outbound, like volume based, like you're just on a dialer, just like the call will hang up, the next one would call, and like you're going to be on the dialer for a few hours and speak to 10 people and call 500 people. Like that didn't sort of align for me. So, but I would say within the first month of being with an RSI, like I think I joined in February, and by certainly March, I was on a couple of accounts at that point. Yeah.
I remember reviewing one of your calls. You were working with a men's coaching company, a company that's more of a personal development, personal growth offer. Yeah. And that's something that a number of our students are interested in, and a number of people have a background in. I think it's not spoken about as much. Men's mental health and just overall personal growth. How was that experience?
Yeah, that was my first proper so the other role was more outbound. I'm now on an offer where it's like there's book calls in my calendar, there's a setter that's qualifying people on the way into some capacity. I was really connected to the purpose of that mission. I still am. Like I fully believe in like the importance of men's health and the priority of it and the impact it can have on who we are and what we can achieve. They were pretty heavy conversations, some of them. And so the thing that became pretty aware for me at that point is like actually being able to like manage your time, right? Because you could very easily carry the weight of one conversation to the next one, and you get to the end of the day and you feel like you've been hit by a truck, right? And so that was an awareness for me of like the importance of like how you actually manage your schedule, and I was really aligned to the mission, but a really heavy conversation, and a lot of people that maybe weren't in the capacity of like being ready to buy, or like, so again, that whole sort of lead flow becomes really important as well. So I learned a lot out of that in terms of like what was important in terms of how the offer was, what the offer was itself, like the type of person you were then speaking to who is like the potential purchaser of an offer like that as well, because these are all things, because people don't buy what you're telling them or selling them, they buy the energy of who you are and your belief in it, your conviction, like that gives them certainty. And so like having an offer where that feels really good, as well as you believe in it, but also your energy towards it is really strong, becomes really important.
I think it's super important. It's a piece that people think that you would just go to the money or where the money is and where the highest paying role is. When in reality, there's nothing that will drain your energy more than selling something that you don't believe in, even if you are making money. Yeah. You, not long after that, you landed where you're at now, which is WFS. They're a company or a career partner at RSI. I believe it was one of the episodes of the Remote Sales podcast with one of our students, Nick, who gave you that motivation to reach out to them, start the conversation, and you're now working in a pretty damn amazing offer. Do you want to walk us through what you're doing at the moment? What type of offer is it? What type of is the day-to-day? Because it's an extreme day-to-day as well that most people wouldn't be up for.
I would not be where I am in this offer now if it wasn't for one, RSI, or two, the RSI, like this podcast, because I'll never forget watching Nick's podcast and being just like, I need this. Like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And hearing the passion and the excitement coming through from him, like, that's just a moment in time that I'll remember forever. I'll always look back to that. So thanks to you guys, firstly. And I guess to Nick as well, right? Like
thanks to Nick,
just the rock star. And so, yeah, I watched Nick's podcast, and then Nick's talking about he's working on this with this done for you sales agency. At first, I never heard of a done for you sales agency before. They're called WFS. I watched the podcast. I go straight onto LinkedIn. I'm like, where are they? Like, are their jobs available? Apply for a job probably before the podcast is even finished. And next thing you know, like a day later, the head of talent reaches out. And I'm like, no way. And then I have an interview they've got a great interview process. So you go through like a screening interview just to get a bit of a sense of like whether they feel like you've got the right skill set. And they got through that okay. And then you go in and you have like a proper skills assessment. So they give you a scenario. It's actually a little like RSI, like they get you to sell a sales coaching program, right? So you role play in that position of like closing one of the sales directors on the offer. And that's an experience, right? I mean, role playing is one thing, but role playing it, that's your way of it. Like they call it a skills assessment. So went through that. And you never really know like how, like you kind of get some sense like, yeah, that was pretty good, but like it's always a bit unnatural in an interview as well. So you kind of like don't quite know like, how this will go. And then a couple of days later, you get a phone call and they're like, we'd love to have you. And I initially didn't realize I initially applied for a role that was on another offer. And then they're like, we loved the interview. We'd like to put you onto this Airbnb arbitrage offer, which is the same offer that Nick was and is still on as well. So we're both on the same offer together, Airbnb arbitrage offer in the US. And WFS is sometimes, it's like a pinchy moment sometimes. Honestly, I've had days like taking a walk between calls and I'm like, how did this all come to me? Like, it's just, what a golden opportunity, how grateful I am for it. And you just find an opportunity and it just resonates so strongly. And obviously the earning capacity is amazing, so that helps too. But like them as a company, I'm just like so grateful.
Yeah, by all reports, they have one of the most professional recruiting processes, onboarding processes. It sounds like the training is elite. And, you know, that's really why we partner with them. And that's why we recommend them to students who are looking to work on the US time zone. And man, it sounds as though you've already made a bit of cash this morning. It sounds like you've closed some deals. I think when we hopped on, you said you've closed a few deals this morning.
Yeah, a couple of deals this morning. So, but to your point, that 100%. So like the training, the thing that really drew me in, like once I was aware of Nick, but then even now being in there is like, if you want an environment where you are just set up to a platform to succeed, you've got all the like coaching sessions a couple of times a week. You've got an environment where people just want to see you successful and give you all the technology to help you with that, the managing your CRM and all that sort of stuff. All you really have to do is worry about like showing up in your best self, your best energy, and just being the best version for the person you're speaking to, right? And it's just a platform for all those things. And that's what drew me to it. And that's now why I'm still there as well, because of all of those things, right? And then in terms of the earning capacity, yeah, cracking. Like, so I sort of sleep in now. Usually I don't normally start taking calls till about 6 a.m. because I'm seeing that I'm still talking to people in the US. Like I've closed people that come on calls at midnight, their time. And at almost 1 o'clock in the morning, they're handing over their credit card details. Like, one respect, if someone's joining a call at midnight, they're probably pretty damn sure this is something they want to do. And that works in my favor because it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and everyone else in the US wants to be asleep. So no other closers are taking those calls. So like there's value, right?
That's a good qualification technique, is just setting your calendar for midnight and actually seeing who's committed enough
on certain
to jump on a call at midnight.
Yeah, 100%. But look, when I started, I was like, I'll work US hours. So I was doing, taking calls from 9 a.m. Pacific time. That was like 2 a.m. our time. So going to bed with the kids at 7:30, waking up at 1:30, having a green tea and trying to get going. And was, closing people at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. And then you start to find your groove. You start to find like the times of day when you feel like you're your best energy, the times you realize that sleep's pretty important as well. So then you start to manage that a little bit better too. And so I sort of found my sweet spot. So through my first 4 months, like in my first month, actually, June was my first month. I had just 3 weeks. I started I think on the 10th of June or something. And I made, I think now in Australian dollars, $42,000 or $43,000 in 3 weeks.
That's wild. That's why we use your example as the $11,000 first week.
Yeah. Well, the first week was like 11,500.
And what do you have to do to make that kind of money? How many calls do you have to sit on? What's the conversion rate? How many buy? What's your average commish?
So I probably pretty consistently close at about like a 38% rate.
And that's of people who show up?
So of people who show up, at the moment, our show rate's a little bit low because it's holiday season with Thanksgiving and those sorts of things. So it's dropped a little bit. But the show rate generally is on this offer is pretty good, right? I would say probably it would have to be close to around the like 75-80% of show, maybe even slightly higher. Like it's a really solid show rate. And it's also, generally speaking, a very qualified buyer as well. Because what's actually taken place is they've been on a webinar, right? So they go on a coaching webinar for like 2.5, 3 hours. And then in that coaching call, they get the opportunity to book in for a call, right? So they've had 2 or 3 hours with an expert talking to them through how to do Airbnb arbitrage, why you should do it, like, and really like setting a lot of the foundation behind it. So by the time they come to a call, it's, depending on the process, it's a little less about like, why should I do this? It's more about like moving them through the next stage, so that like a lot of the time they're very qualified. You still get people that financially don't fit or all those sorts of things, but So I would say I now probably take 6-7 calls a day and close at about 35-38% of those calls. High 80 or so percent probably show up. And the show rate's like something that's in your control to some capacity too, right? Like, I mean, all these people book, and then we're talking about like the value of a lead. Like, these people booking a call on a webinar, and the call might be 2 days from now. At that time, they're like, excitement about this is like at an all-time high, but it's going to come back within the next 2 days before their call. So your ability to like engage with these people in time, share them value between the time they book the call and the time they actually call happen, like that all impacts the show rate too. So
Big time.
I think is an
We
easy
call that owning the indecision,
turn up.
owning the show window and controlling that show window from the time that they actually book the appointment and the time of the appointment.
100%.
And yeah, you're right. In my experience, the best closers also have the highest show rates.
Yeah.
And so isn't that funny, where something which a lot of people, salespeople would say is out of their control, oh, I've had a low show rate, I couldn't have converted, I got lower numbers. But the best closers have higher show rates. Why? Because they follow up and they nurture and they make sure that people show up, and they make sure that, even if someone doesn't show, they're following up that person and they're getting them back on a call.
And it's not even just about making sure they're going to show up for the call. Like, it's about building them up for the call as well, right? So it's sharing value, like, between times, so that they continue to stay engaged with the excitement they had when they booked the call, or like just drip feeding that to them. So by the time they come to the call, they're ready for the call, right? Like that.
Can I ask, who's responsible for that in your team? Is it the setter or is it the closer that nurtures before the appointment?
So we do that ourselves. So the closer does that. So we do have setters, but because most people have booked through the webinar and they've come straight into our calendar based on that, we kind of skip the setting step as a result. Now, in saying that, we do have a couple of what we call like confirmation specialists who are the in-between. So like, we as closers have the responsibility to like go out there and like make contact with these people, confirm the appointment, and then start to build some rapport relationship with them prior to the call taking place. And then we have a bit of support around that with a couple of people who fill in the gaps where either we're not hearing back from people or they just chase those people. So as much as possible, like the show rate's being driven by us, but then a couple of centers who support us on that as well.
Yeah, I think that's the best way, to take it into your control as well. You've got someone in your calendar, take ownership and get them to show up. How have you found the differences between selling US to US customers and versus Aussies?
Yeah, America's the land of the free and the opportunity, right? So people are, by and large, more entrepreneurial, willing to give something a crack, want to find a new way to do something to change their financial circumstance in any way. I mean, what we're doing is literally changing people's lives financially, which then flows on to how they spend their time and all other aspects of life. So I think there's a population base, right? So there's a whole bunch more of every type of person, but there's a real entrepreneurial like desire to just like be taking opportunities, like trying to like make decisions differently than perhaps they have. Of course, we still get all the skeptics and all those sorts of things as well. There's more of those based on a bigger population too. But in general, I just think people they're willing to give something a crack and like put themselves.
I couldn't agree more. I think the extremes are far. So they're far more motivated. When someone's motivated and ambitious, they're far more motivated and ambitious. And when someone is broke, they're far more broke. Yeah. I've found that with buyers in the US. When someone's more negative and pessimistic, they're also probably a little bit more extreme. But yeah, all in all, I think working with US buyers presents an opportunity because mostly they want to back themselves. I do believe that they believe that they can achieve more, and they have it's almost an inbuilt desire to achieve more, that they need to be doing more, that they need to be doing better across the board.
Yeah. And I think that's, 100% spot on the money. I think, it was a very different offer I was selling in Australia as opposed to what I'm selling in the US. But like my experience is, they'll have a go at something. Even the logistical elements of like how they're going to make it work, they'll find financing options. They're open to debt to like make things happen for themselves. That there's a real, not for everybody. And again, it's just population based. Probably we get to speak to more of them, but people that really want to give something a crack as well.
Looking at where you're at now, what you're doing, you're earning ridiculous money. and you're not having to do any outbound. You're not having to go out and knock on doors and drop pamphlets in letterboxes you're still getting up at 5 a.m. to go and to do some of that letterbox dropping in real estate, and even the corporate sales role where nothing's handed to you. How is that just as an experience coming to high ticket and looking back at maybe the grind that you've had to go through, where now not only are you getting leads booked into your calendar, but those leads are warmed up by webinars and people going through and actually nurturing buyers and building trust, so that you as a salesperson, all your job is really to, I guess, guide that person through any other questions and help them make a decision.
And I mean, at the end of that, that is what we're doing, right? Like, we are taking a person who's got a desire in some form and like helping them make that decision for themselves and giving them this perspective they need to be able to make that decision. I mean, everything of like 2025 will be a year that I always look back on. Like, it's literally changed the shape and form of every aspect of largely my life, my family's life as a result, right? In terms of a shift in mindset and what's actually possible in terms of how much money you can earn, which has a flow-on effect to the type of life that you can have and the way you can provide for your own family and for other people as well. Like, give back to others is a huge part of this too. But how you spend your time, right? And where I came from a corporate background, and you're bred to believe that money's really hard to come by because you spend 10, 12, how many hours every day grinding on a commute, then in an office, like for a limited amount, however high that is, but a capped amount of earnings. And so we believe that money's this really hard thing to get. And then 2025 has completely proved to me that that's actually not the case at all. There's infinite ways to earn money. There's an infinite amount of it. And it's just my natural way of thinking is completely different from what it was 6-8 months ago, whenever the start of the year. So it's like, I'm a different person than the person that spoke to you guys when I first joined the start of the year.
I can feel that. It's almost, you almost had because you put yourself in a position where you needed to make it work. You were hustling, but you almost had a frantic energy about you. And right now I'm feeling calm presence. I'm feeling confidence. I'm feeling someone who they've got things together and they've got confidence around the future.
And that's how you, like, back to that piece around like being in real estate. And it was about the time I was in real estate where I started to go pretty deep into mindset as well, because like, you know what, one or two things is going to happen in real estate. Either my limiting beliefs will overcome and get the better of me, or I'll work out how to overcome them for myself. And so I went pretty deep in mindset for that reason. And actually doing that, it actually gained me the clarity I needed in terms of like what was important about life, which led me to like transition and go here. But it also like then completely changed my perspective towards many of these aspects, which as a result, like naturally, like I said, I just think differently. And a big part of that was like calmness, like almost like a serenity within your life. And that's just something that I've built within over the course of this year as a result of like going deeper in that, and also the incredible opportunity that came through you guys and going into WFS too. What
are some of the key challenges as a mindset coach or being a mindset coach, what are some of the key challenges that you could face and you do face on a day-to-day basis in this role in remote sales? Because it's amazing. You've got huge earning potential, but there are some challenges, mindset challenges. And how have you found that?
Well, I mean, the first thing is, before you even get there, you've got to acknowledge that we're all programmed, right? We're all programmed to believe a certain way. We've inherited beliefs and thoughts about ourselves and about the world. And we've inherited these from our parents, from their parents, from generations, but also just from the environment we kept, whether it's work colleagues, school friends, whatever, right? And we've consented to ideas. And the ideas that we've consented to are not even our own. They're other people's that we've inherited, about how much money we can earn, about what's realistic, about what success is. And typically speaking, these ideas that we've consented to would hold us back from, like me at the start of the year telling me that I could earn $40,000 or $50,000 a month. Like, that's unrealistic. That's illogical. But 6 or 8 months, not even like by June, like that was the reality. So consenting to the idea that there's another way, firstly, and then like realizing what's actually stopping me from being able to earn 10, 20, 30, 40, $100,000 a month, whatever the number is. It's just myself, just my own beliefs towards whether I believe that's possible. And I'm open to that reality. And by getting open to it and being in belief that that was a possibility. Okay, well, how do I shift the way I believe of who I am? How do I talk to myself differently to make me think that I could actually do that? There would be closers out there who would have a ceiling. They don't believe that they could earn more than $10,000 or $15,000 a month. It's only because of a limitation they put on themselves, right? So that's one part of it. But then also is then going into, okay, well, what happens on a daily basis? You get no shows, you get people that don't close, you get people that close, you get all these different emotions coming into your environment as a result of what you're doing. And do you allow those circumstances to control who you are? Like, do you allow, if you go, like I've had weeks where I've closed no deals, but do I allow that week to then affect who I was and then flow on for weeks and weeks and weeks? No, because I believe that I was already a $50,000 a month closer. So the next week came around and like my energy is, that's who I am. I'm not a person who doesn't close the deal on a week. I earn $50,000 a month, or even I earn $100,000 a month, because if I don't get 100, but I'm getting much closer towards it. So we can all allow the external environment to impact us, right, negatively, or we accept other ideas of others, and shifting that was like the big one. Like that was, who do I want to be? What's the goal? Be that person now, work out how to train my mind to be that person, and then the results followed.
It's very hard. It's very hard for people who can't see the reality yet to believe that they're worth more, or believe 100%. That a new reality is possible, because all the evidence that they've got as a 10K closer or working a 70,000 or 80K a year job in corporate, or $100K or $150,000 per year job in corporate, and they've never earned anything more than that.
It's hard.
The evidence, the physical evidence suggests that that's all that you've been able to achieve. So breaking past that, I think, is the key, and then believing and up-leveling your identity to being, hey, I'm not worth 150K. I'm earning 150K, but I'm actually a $500,000 per year operator, and I provide that much value.
Yeah.
And I mean, so it's.
I was in that reality, right? So like I said, I left real estate. I've got no salary. I had hardly any salary when I was in it. I was in it for 5 months. We're burning through savings through this whole period of time. And then now I'm in RSI hustling because I need something, because I got a need to earn money. And then I try a couple of offers and I'm not really earning. I'm closing a few, but like the capacity is not really having much of a dent on the living expenses of Sydney with 2 kids. So then like I am 3 weeks away from having zero in our bank account, like zero.
That's stressful.
Then all of a sudden what happens, I have 3 weeks and I make 11 grand in my first week, and I make $42,000 in the first 3 weeks. All right. Now, the emotion of all of that could have overcome me, and I could have led myself to the path of that zero becoming a reality. But I held the belief internally that, no, I'm a $40,000 a month closer. 3 weeks later, it came, right? Now,
isn't that funny?
That's holding the faith and holding the belief despite the external environment, right? Like that's a pretty extreme example, but at no point through that period did I have this emotion of like, what's going to happen? Like we're going to because I just shifted my perspective of what I was and who I was, that I knew it was coming. And then thank God it came when it came.
It's even down to things like spending money. There are things and behaviors that, and this is, you would obviously know this, but money mindset, people who have problems with money are often very frugal. They avoid spending money because they are worried about money coming in. And even the act when you've got 3 weeks left of runway, you've got 2 kids, you've got a mortgage, you've got a wife, you've got a whole family relying on you and your income. And so many stories could go through your head around, hey, I'm not worthy, I'm a loser, I'm not providing for my family. It just takes so much grit and so much determination, just so much strength to block that out and to maintain that identity and that belief that this is my reality right now, but this is not who I am.
Yeah.
And things to, hey, let's go for dinner. Let's go and let's buy that thing, because I've got that unshakable belief that it's coming.
100%, because what you say there is like, that was me. Like I was working in real estate. We can't go on a holiday. We can't go out for dinner. We can't, because we're hardly earning any income. We've got to keep as much of our savings protected and all. Like I was the biggest lack mindset at the time, even when I made the decision to commit to RSI, right? Like I knew I needed to do it, but it was not a decision. Like I had never self-invested, right? Other than going to university, like every other investment in myself was what a corporate career gave me in terms of like any internal training or whatever, right? But the lack perspective or lack mindset towards money, like that was one of the biggest shifts that needed to happen, because you invest in yourself, you put a bet on yourself, firstly. And I was reading a quote the other day from a guy, Jim Rohn, who was like one of the mentors of Tony Robbins. And he goes, I don't remember the quote exactly, it was basically like, successful people invest in themselves, whereas like if you just get an education, like formal education, it's just like you'll kind of stay at that plateau. Whereas if you want to invest in yourself to make a fortune, like I've completely butchered that quote, but it was something like
He's got some rippers.
Highlighted the importance
He's got
of
some
like,
rippers. But it's the same thing. How can you? So if someone is earning $100,000 and they've only earned $100,000, well, it's one thing to believe that you're worth $500K. It's another thing to take some steps to actually make yourself worth $500K and provide more value and become more valuable. So and people forget that, hey, you invest in a property. If you renovate your home, it becomes worth more. But they forget that you've got to renovate your own education. You've got to start to up level yourself. And if you just expect to stay the same and you're not investing in your own education, in your own growth and development, then you will stay the same and your value won't change. And so, of course, you won't command more money.
Yeah. So, and that was a massive eye-opener, because I joined RSI in, I think, end of January, start of February. And then a month later, I'm speaking to a mindset coach because I'm still in real estate, thinking I need some help there. And then it became abundantly clear that, hey, I needed to like get a better understanding of my own internal beliefs towards who I was, and that was limiting that lack mindset towards money and all those sorts of things. So I ended up investing again, 25,000 US, which was like 37,000, I think, at the time. Again, little to no salary, but like that investment paid itself back 2 months later when I hit a $40,000 month, like in one go, right? So the power, like if you think about embodying the person that you want to become, if you want to believe yourself to be a $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 a month closer, does that person invest in themselves? Of course they do, right? And you're on a sales call asking somebody, challenging somebody to invest in themselves for their best interest. You got to be congruent with that. You've got to have done it yourself.
Could agree more.
And that was a big one for me to join RSI, because a part of me was like, maybe I'll just go and find out how to get into remote sales myself without any training. But that was a very quick decision to realize that wasn't ever going to work. Like I think the different skill set from corporate selling, firstly, but also the need for the investment in yourself was key.
It's a rite of passage. Passage. And so people who want to sell high ticket, they forget that, and they want to make the money, the 40K, they forget that the way you make 40K is that you get people to back themselves. You get people to invest in themselves, and they spend and they invest large sums of money, and you make a commission off that.
Yeah.
And if you're not prepared to do that yourself, if you're not prepared to actually go through the process, invest money back yourself, how could you ever stand in congruence and ask another person to do the same? Yeah. And people severely underinvest in themselves over the course of their life, as you know, like getting to your, I'm not sure how old you would have been when you invested in RSI, but you get to that point, you've never invested in yourself at all.
Yeah.
And it's the same for so many people along their journey, especially working corporate.
Yeah.
You're getting some internal training, but it's never goes through your mind to go and get a coach or go and really level up or go through a program. So we underinvest in ourselves throughout the course of our lives. Yeah. And of course, the results that they're seeing in their lives reflect that generally.
100%. And even at Take WFS, like there's amazing training 2 times a week, like specific to closing, but then there's product specific training 2 or 3 others. So there's like every day there's some form of training available to yourself. But despite that, I think to a person, I think there's how many closes on our account. Every single one of them is invested somewhere else in some form, whether it's me in mindset, whether it's somebody else closing with another program somewhere else, or something else related to self-improvement of what they're actually doing. Because it's a constant thing. Like we're meant to grow as people, and like the only way you're going to do that is if you take that position to invest.
Take the leap. It's never been a bad move. It's only ever resulted in 10x results for me. Every time I've invested we're investing huge sums of money in mentor to help grow our business and to help us strive forward. And of course, some of those investments, they make your eyes water, and you're like, how are we going to make this work? But yeah, again, having that mindset of abundance and everything works out. You make those investments, and even just the process of doing that means that you're backing yourself, and I think it helps you grow your own belief, man. I've loved the chat. Hey, I've loved walking down the memory lane and just remembering you in the group, mate. We miss you in the program. You're a valued member, but obviously, mate, you've got your work at the moment. You're juggling kids. Just a quick one. How parents who are looking to get into this, we have a lot of people who have kids, and that's the reason they're sort of looking to get into remote closing. How has that been for you? Now you knock off. What time do you knock off in the morning generally?
Yeah, so it works pretty. So my wife actually left the corporate career. I've been contagious, and she's now closing as well.
Oh wow!
So she's doing a couple other things. She's still early stage, but she's on an account at the moment, and so like it's become a bit of a family thing. Firstly, in that respect, but also it works. So I work US hours, obviously, typically. So I'm usually like on in the morning, and then the great thing about being US hours is that like from 4 p.m. more or less, like no one can contact me until the next day. So like I love my afternoons now because I can pick the kids up, I can be present with them because I don't have the possibility of someone calling me or emailing me that I need to respond to. Like that time is just my time. So like I love that for me because that's my time therefore to like really dedicate and be present for the kids. And conversely, like that's when she so she has the mornings and then she does some closing in the evenings because it works out here, and she's an Australian account, so like it works out for her closing in Australian evenings after dinner or even doing some stuff over in Perth. So like the balance is like great from that respect. So I think the family element is amazing to it. I think it's that, again, coming back to that, it used to be an hour's commute to the office. Like
working from home is just the game changer.
If you're working with the kids or in the evening with the kids, like, so yeah, and I think they notice it too. I mean, they're already young, they're 4 and 2, but the other day I did go into the city to see somebody because, like I said, I'm doing some mindset coaching. I'm coaching a real estate team in the eastern suburbs of Sydney at the moment. And so I was in their office on Wednesday doing some coaching. And it was they were kind of like shocked, like, well, where are you going? What are you going to work for? Like, and so like even they pick up on it. They love the fact that like everyone's together, or like, okay, the door might be closed, but like you finish a call, you can go and switch off for 10 minutes and jump on a trampoline with them and then come back again. Like that was part of that vision that I became aware of when I was in real estate of what I wanted my life to look like, right? So it's great.
It's those moments that you can collect the moments that you just simply don't get if you're traveling, commuting, working from an office. We had someone on yesterday who was FIFO, so they're fly in, fly out, they're working away in the mines for weeks at a time, which unimaginable now that we have the lifestyle we have working from home.
Totally. So it's a game changer. So I forever grateful to you guys for giving me the path in, because like I said, like even that was like my account, what I was working with my account, where I was working in corporate sales before going to real estate, the sales cycle was like 1.5 to 2 years. So we would have a meeting or a call and you were happy at the end of that if they just still wanted to talk to you, right? So all of a sudden you have to move somebody from being a skeptic or whatever they are to like getting out their credit card and paying you a reasonable chunk of money within the space of like 45 minutes to an hour. Like that's a completely different conversation.
It's far more fun.
Far more fun.
It's so much more fun and enjoyable.
One of my calls this morning, this lady, like I just like genuinely loved the conversation. Like she was a great lead, like all those things, but I was having the conversation for her. It wasn't something I was doing. It was like for her, and she loved the conversation. I picked up her energy. I'm sure she picked up mine. And honestly, it was an hour conversation where like there was no element of work to that. She bought and she paid, but like that was just like a fun conversation for an hour. And of course, they're not all like that. But like, how good's that to call that worth?
Well, I think one of my reminders in my mindset priming as a closer is to have fun. In the times when I was closing and I was off, my performance was generally when I was taking it too seriously or I was feeling the pressure, and I forgot to have fun. I forgot to enjoy it, and I forgot to connect with that person. So if you can make it fun, if you can really just remind, it often just, all it takes is just to remind yourself, hey, have a bit of fun.
Yeah.
It's very enjoyable. And then you get that instant gratification. You can also get that instant kick in the nuts or kick in the head when you don't get the sale as well, which you don't get in B2B long sales cycle selling. But you get, like you say, the competitive nature. I was out of competitive sports for many years before I jumped into closing. And I used to play football, Aussie rules, got into fitness, started a business, gave it away. And then probably 10 years later, started closing. And it was, or maybe less, like 8 years, but it was at that time where I got that win or loss, and performance, how much I'd trained really showed on a call. And if I trained harder, if I worked harder at it outside of the calls and I jumped on, I felt good. I felt like I was in form. I could close. I could make more money. So I just love that win or loss. And it was very, I took the losses hard. I really celebrated the wins a lot. And it's bloody fun.
It's the best. And one thing I love about it particularly is that funny conversation, but you are doing this for good, right? Like you are in the sense of the good of the other person. Like we perceive sales as like selling something to somebody that they don't want or need. Like when you genuinely align and believe in something, you are doing this for that person because you fully believe that this is the best thing for them and you're helping them to realize that for themselves. And I have had people in tears on calls, like where they've made the decision for themselves, shaking and nervous because they've never invested in themselves, but also so grateful for the fact that somebody helped them make that decision for themselves. They made it, but someone helped them give them this perspective. And like, you talk about fulfillment, like enjoyment in the workplace, like seeing the impact that it has on somebody else, and then seeing a month or two later the results they're seeing as a byproduct of the decision that you helped them make. Like,
it's incredible. I mean, this is a sort of a moment we're having now. Is I didn't close you. One of the guys who did you speak to on our team?
I spoke to blonde guy.
Blonde Matt.
Man, I feel bad.
Matt. Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, I spoke to Matt.
Shout out Matt Quixley.
Yeah,
absolute legend, and he did the same for you.
100%,
brother. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a really fun chat.
Likewise.
I'm excited for the future. Closing, mindset coach, talking about getting you into RSI to come and speak to the students.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Honestly, I'm more 100%. Like I think it's a big part of what's got me to here, so it can obviously help other people too.
Yeah, you've got a lot to share, and I think athlete, everything you've gone through, keeping your head in the game with 3 weeks left, keeping the belief, and then manifesting the reality it's truly inspiring. And I take my hat off to you, bud.
I appreciate it, Kris. Thank you. Like I said, therefore forever grateful. Like a lot of the foundations were set here. So thank you to Shani and yourself for doing what you do, and like keep going, because what you're doing is I'm just a result of that, right? So hopefully that fills you with something as well, because it should, because it's an amazing machine that you guys are on. Yeah,
man, we're super proud. We're super proud of these chats and just the results results like these. It makes everything worth it. So just definitely pumps me up. So I'm stoked for you, stoked for us. It's bloody awesome.
Amazing, cracking. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Cheers, Kris.